2020.
Happy Dune Year.
New year, new me.
Dune year.
What's a Dune year?
The year we celebrate Dune even more than we have in the past, shockingly.
And
I don't know if that's
arbitrarily.
possible.
okay, so we're celebrating Dune and
Flash Gordon.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
2020.
All right.
The year of sci-fi that ought to, but didn't, but can anyway.
I like it.
And will.
I like it.
And still shall.
Yeah, it will happen.
Hashtag New Year, New Me.
Exactly.
Are you living that hashtag?
No. The hashtag.
Yeah, but you're on pod probation.
Yeah, no, I just found out
Yeah,
earlier today.
you
I'm on
got in
pod
trouble.
probation.
Yeah.
No, I fucked
Oh,
up.
man.
I've been fucking up. I don't live a healthy lifestyle, and sometimes it reflects in the pod, and sometimes I get a little too drunk. Sometimes things get a little sloppy. That's why I trust my dear friends to put me on pod probation and get me back on the straight and narrow. Which is why I'm only drinking grape vodka and Shasta with a dark beer chaser.
Look,
because I'm trying to keep
Shasta.
my shit tight tonight for my fucking listeners and my friends.
Yeah.
You've been doing very good.
Thank you.
Your probation officer
Yeah.
is very happy with your
Thanks you.
progress.
Yeah, no, I have to see them every morning. It sucks, but it's all right. We have a drum circle. It's fun.
Yeah, don't worry. There's going to be random piss tests pop for you.
Oh.
But don't worry. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Welcome to the Kryptonaut Podcast. I am Mark Storrs, and with me, as always, is...
I'm crass.
And
Rob Morphy.
recently out of pod prison, currently on pod probation,
Jubadilly.
Mr. Rob Morphy.
Yeah, but I feel like, you know what? This is a new leaf. This is 2020. The year of random sci-fi and references that I don't even understand. I feel like we're going to get tighter than ever.
I think so, too.
Oh, yeah.
Tight as a tick's tiny bottom.
Oh, tiny bottom.
It actually is a
Nice.
much
That's
filthier
nice.
word, according to my grandpa, but I'm not going there.
All
Because you
right.
know what? We're
All
keeping
right.
it classy.
Yeah, that's right. Again, 2020,
Shit,
hashtag
all right.
New Year, New Me. Let's get started with a shout out to a very, very special listener of ours, longtime listener. We'll let them remain anonymous, but they sent us a really super
fuck.
cool gift.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Dude, it made my universe.
Dude.
First off, I'm not sure if it is needlepoint, but if it isn't, it is the first of its kind I've ever received. Secondly, it is a Sasquatch-tastic. All three of us got these beautiful Patterson-Gimlin style walking Bigfoot, but done in a pattern of like this beautiful pastoral forest.
It's awesome.
By a longtime listener and super fan who we fucking adore.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
And in deference to the wishes of said listener, we're going to give a shout out to the designer of the pattern that she sent us, and thank you. She's all right. It's a she. That's it. That's all I'm giving away.
All right, it's fine.
That's half
fine.
the world. I think there's more women than dudes. Was actually concerned that she might have been overstepping her bond, sending us each one. Bound said this. Holy fuck, no. It is literally amongst my 10 most treasured possessions now.
It would have been a crypto fight to who was going to get it.
Oh, I mean, we would have had
That's
to hang it in the
true.
studio in the end because
Yeah,
we
it's true,
would all
yeah.
enjoy. But the fact that we all get to take one home is amazeballs. But like I say, as per anonymous, wonderful listener's request, I want to give a shout out to Stitchy Little Fox on Etsy, which is at Etsy.com, shop Stitchy Little Fox. And apparently that's where she found the pattern. That individual is the designer of said Sasquatch pattern, and it is fucking awesome. And it really reflects a lot of work and a lot of beauty, and it is a work of art. And fucking seriously, even though we're not going to bring up the name, you fucking rule the pit.
Yeah, thank you so very much.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it made the week. It's like 2020 is on now officially.
It is
See?
on.
It's
And I
back.
even know where I'm going to hang it, right next to my fucking desk where I can look at it when I'm typing up my shit.
There you go. Yeah,
Thank you.
I got mine in my altar next to my Baphomet statue. It's like sitting right there.
I
yeah.
got on my altar.
It's my altar.
Go to my altar.
Yeah, I got an altar.
Do you have an altar, Chris?
Yeah,
Because I
everywhere.
don't happen to have an altar.
Yeah, you have altars
You do.
everywhere.
You have DC
I
and random.
define
little-
altar.
Okay.
Shit with toys on it? Okay, I got a lot of those. Fine, I have a lot of altars.
Okay, maybe mine actually is an altar. Mine's a little bit different. I got
One
like
time-
I got like baby teeth and shit near it. So,
Years
yeah.
ago,
You're fucked up.
Chris and I and an unnamed buddy were on a regular UFO hunt, which we would do in the countrified areas surrounding our
Oh,
hometown
I
of
know
St.
what you're
York.
going to say.
And, buzzed up, having a good time. Perhaps a little high, perhaps not, I don't know. We drove past what I referred to in song
Yep.
as an altar to an ancient dark god.
Oh,
and it was fucking
nice.
amazing,
Sweet.
and we laughed about it. So I'm
We
just
did.
saying, Lovecraft forever, needlepoint for life, and fucking 2020, fucking A. Thank you
It's on.
all. Fuck, I love you.
Thank you all so very much. Patreon.com/Kryptonaut Podcast.
We have new patrons?
We do.
We do.
And actually, we are changing our shout out format, starting with this episode, that we are going to do them as soon as we get them. We're going to do them that week so that there isn't a huge backlog and people have to wait to hear their shout outs. We're just going to do them off the top.
Oh, the quick hit.
Boom, the quick hit.
Do the quick hit.
So Patreon is patreon.com/Kryptonaut Podcast. $1 will get you a shout out. $5 will get you a shout out and some bonus audio.
Which is fun, by the way.
Yeah, so this week our the Patreon shout outs are going out to Victor Martinez,
Victor.
Josh Trapito,
Nice, Josh.
Kathleen Novak,
Oh, that's like classic Hitchcockian.
Michael Ford,
Mr. Ford.
and Trina Close.
God
Nice.
bless each and
I
every
think
one of you.
Trina's actually a
Nice.
brand new listener, so thank you all so very much for
Excellent.
your contributions
You
to
guys are
Patreon.
awesome.
We appreciate it. Again, that's patreon.com/Kryptonaut Podcast. After this episode, we are recording a first Patreon episode for January. So stick around for that.
So the first one of the new year.
First one of the new year, yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be on. It's going to be dope. So be sure to check all that out. HellerSpace.com. Get yourself some T-shirts there. Those things are happening. We're going to have some new designs coming up soon.
Some super fucking dope new
we always
designs.
say it,
Not
but
to overtout.
it's going to be there. It's going to be dope.
Well,
It's
we've
gonna
been
be
working
awesome.
our balls off, legitimately. And when we're proud of the things we do, it is not to be taken lightly because we are self-loathing artists. So
Totally.
when that shit comes out in a way that we look at it, it's like, tight.
Yeah,
It's
look
fucking
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. And before we get started with the episode, we want to give a very special shout out to a fellow podcaster of the weird, the Oddball Aussie.
Oh, yeah.
He is our buddy over there in Australia. He does the Oddball Aussie podcast. It's a great show. You should totally check that out.
Totally.
There's a lot of crazy shit happening right now with all the brush fires in Australia.
It's nasty.
And he's one of the dudes. He's down there on the front line. He's a fireman. So thank you to the
Dope.
Oddball Aussie.
Oh, yeah.
I
Stay
think it's
safe.
awesome.
Be
Yeah.
awesome. Can't wait to hear
Totally.
you talk more. And tits up to all your good efforts.
And also, be sure to check his show. His show is super
Oh,
cool.
do it. Oddball
So,
Aussie is fucking
yeah, it is dope.
hilarious. It's good shit.
So, all right, here we go. This week we're talking about this is 2020, starting it off right. The Carnivorous Pink Cloud.
Not the title you're expecting.
No, not at all.
You know, I will say this is one that's been on my radar for a while, but I've got to give again, super fan and just great buddy of the pod, Matt Drew, shout out for
What up, Matt Drew?
for like reigniting it in me, because you can have archives of stuff, but when suddenly you see something again, you're like, oh snap, how did I not want to do this? So full fucking props to Matt, and this is really a fun, crazy pop culture-y, well, maybe more folkloric case, and I love it, and so let's make this shit happen.
All right, let's get started with paranormal lore is littered with tales of repulsive things lurking in the dark and isolated places where God-fearing folk are reluctant to tread.
If they're smart.
While many of these unfathomable fiends assume at least remotely familiar forms of wolves, wildmen, or prehistoric monsters, there is one whose shape is as amorphous and enigmatic as its origins. A seemingly sentient entity renowned for one thing: its consumption of living flesh.
And this is where the guitars come in, and then the double bass.
No.
And Palpatine refuses something, like he doesn't want lemon water. He's not interested in the cod.
How about 400 destroyers and
Well done.
powers that are unnatural?
Everybody gets lightning.
Wow.
Everybody gets
All
it.
right. All right, man, we got a carnivorous pink cloud. I'm excited about this. This is kind
You
of
should
cool.
be.
I like this.
Because, you don't often get, first off, I guess,
Clouds.
meat-eating meteorological phenomenon.
Yeah.
That's probably not the most fucking common thing on the Weather Channel,
We have
generally
dealt-
speaking.
Usually
We
not.
have dealt with
Yeah.
we had the
Sky
sky spitter.
Spitter.
Sky Spitter. Which,
Yeah.
That little fucker had attitude.
It did.
It wasn't necessarily nefarious, but
Yeah.
it was a shade. So, it was like a little pissant. It's like, fuck you.
All right, so what do we
Yeah.
got with
Prof.
this? What's up with this?
This is a whole other breed of cat.
All right,
and there's
cool.
a lot of different things going on, and that's what we're here to deal with.
All right.
But first, I'm going to start with a little personal take
Okay.
on the nature
Of clouds.
of clouds
Oh, good.
and or vaporous things that linger closer to the ground, aka fog.
Clouds.
A deeper study.
Who are they? What are they?
Oh, man, I should have been on PBS in the 70s. Oh, my God, totally. Contact. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's
the
something.
reason.
Oh,
It's
God.
whatever.
Are you the only one that remembers that?
Once a week I think about it.
1.
Yes.
God.
If I may.
You guys are old. All right.
May I
It's with contact.
Yes. But indulge me my autobiographical intro. Ever since I first saw John Carpenter's underrated spectral splatfest, The Fog, at the drive-in in 1980, and yes, I was 7 years old, I have been both fascinated and horrified by what might be concealed within the murky, seemingly impenetrable walls of mist that crawl like an ancient, unstoppable Lovecraftian marauder over any and all obstacles and can slip through even the smallest of cracks.
That's beautifully done.
Thank you. The educated adult in me knows all too well that these low-hanging clouds are nothing more than the product of cool air and condensed water droplets, but my inner child knows better. Fog is a nightmare made manifest that hides within it everything you fear most, and the best that you can hope for is that it will slip past in the darkness without lingering, without noticing you at all.
You just painted a really terrible picture of a meteorological event.
Dude,
A fog.
Dude, Fog's been
Fog-
scary forever.
It's creepy. I mean, that it's a primordial
No,
fear.
now I'm scared of it.
Yes.
And I have a truck.
And do you ever go through it in the morning?
And I have a truck. I got
do.
trucks. I
It's
got
funny.
weapons.
I didn't even address that. Like, I'm like, yeah, you have a truck. So you drive through fog. And, but
Yeah.
you have a truck that will protect you from everything.
Exactly.
America.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America.Christ.com. I have a truck.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
The fog. While psychologists and folklorists have field days analyzing what makes human beings so susceptible to manufacturing monsters to fill the unknowable spaces of our world, no such abstraction was necessary for those living in the wooded areas along the Tomoka River just west of Daytona between 1955 and 1966. For these unfortunate few lived in abject terror of a bizarre killer quite unlike anything that had ever been described before. A living, predatory cloud.
We're dealing with a killer cloud.
A killer cloud.
Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
From
We'll
outer
see.
space.
Oh, Chris is already saying maybe. I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we will see. Chris is absolutely right. And the third paragraph, you don't fucking jump to conclusions.
Okay. All right.
Mark.
You played it smart, Chris.
Fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake, man!
Fuck's sake.
Keep it in your pants!
It's 2020 and you're already fucking. Man.
Dude, hashtag New Year, New Me.
New Year, oh, same you.
You're right, actually.
It's Tulpas.
Oh, nailed it. All right, we're
Yeah.
done.
All right, Tulpas
Game
there.
over.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
this is the new pod. Here we go.
Tulpas.
If I may. Known by several monikers, including Tomoka's Cloud, the Carnivorous Pink Cloud, and the catchy, if ostensibly erroneous, Cannibal Cloud.
Oh, the Cannibal Cloud.
Which, by the
no.
way, is a great name, but I don't think
That
it's
means
out
it
there
just
fucking
eats other
eating
clouds.
other fog.
No,
Yeah.
but it sounds cool.
Oh, lesser fog.
Yeah.
Would you even know it was eating another cloud?
But Cannibal
Oh,
Cloud
you wouldn't.
It's a
is
cloud.
fucking awesome.
But I guess you're
no,
correct.
well, clouds don't eat other clouds. They tend to...
Unless it would
Is
form a mouth.
Is it a merger? Is
That's
it
what I
a-
mean. You wouldn't even know.
Is it like
Do
cloud
clouds
sex?
usurp other clouds or absorb? Is it a Borg thing or is it a
No.
conquer?
Is it like dominance or is it just like making love?
Oh,
Is it
And
dominance?
if you don't know the difference, should you go to classes?
Oh, wow. At your local YMCA.
Wow.
God, is
But
this
that having been said,
it's terrible.
fuck. Yes,
This is horrible beginning.
it is not a cannibal cloud in that I don't think there are any, at least eyewitness accounts of it devouring other clouds
right.
with gusto.
If there was
But that's a great name.
But if there was a really cool like Cannibal Corpse tribute band called Cannibal Cloud, like there's Cannabis Corpse, but you could do like Cannibal Cloud.
If there was
Is it tribute band?
If
It'd be
it
kinda
was
fun.
like a 6-piece Japanese girl band that did it like light and poppy, and it was called Cannibal Cloud,
That would
I
make-
would fucking
that would
be
make a
there
lot more
like
sense.
That'd be dope.
swimwear.
That'd be dope.
But that's not the case.
All right.
Yeah.
This malignant miasma was known to literally devour anything or anyone lingering in its hazy path, particularly in the area of the Tomoka River known as the Tiger Bay Preserve. I don't think it's probably loaded with tigers, but what an awesome name.
Tiger Bay. That
It'd be
makes
weird
sense.
if it was.
Where a local fisherman had sworn he'd seen the rosy mass himself. Beginning sometime in 1955, eyewitnesses began to report seeing a strange cotton candy-colored cloud that would cling unnaturally close to the ground as it made its way through the dense East Florida scrub. As unusual as its vibrant pink hue may have been, what struck eyewitnesses as being its most peculiar aspect was the fact that, unlike other meteorological phenomenon, this wraith-like thing seemed to glide intelligently, as if with premeditated intent, sometimes even moving against the wind. That's some shit. There's a lot of things that can be cloud-based, I guess. A lot of industrial and natural events that create vapors, but to fight the wind, that's not a cloud's strongest suit.
No, this is an intelligent cannibal cloud that fights the wind.
I'm just saying.
I like it.
What's been said. When you inherit the wind,
yeah, my favorite book.
I think.
My favorite
when you
book.
fight the wind, you fight nature itself.
Isn't that what we're all doing every day?
You arm wrestle the Lord.
Whoa! Wow!
What?
Does Jesus lose?
You drop elbows
on Jesus?
On Hulk Hogan in his prime, fresh after vitamins and milk.
Yeah, but he's gonna kick out.
Yeah, he always kicks out.
I know, but I'm
Except
just
for
saying,
the time he didn't.
It's still impressive.
Yeah.
That fucking it goes against the wind.
Okay. All right. Well, Ultimate Warriors, Rob.
Maybe.
All right, let's leave the analogies aside. Oh, God damn it.
Clearly it's wearing headbands.
I never should have opened the wrestler's Pandora's box, should I have?
Oh, let's have makeup on.
In the cooler months, hunters would occasionally spy the voracious vapor as it undulated over rocks and bramble in the deep forest. Those who lived to tell the tales would talk about there being no signs of any living animal, just their bleached bones, which had been picked clean.
Now that's weird.
That is weird.
Bleached.
That is weird.
Bleached. Like, not just like gnawed off, but you got some tendon and sinew and fuck all and
Yeah,
rot.
no, it's
just
like a sheen of
like
clean
an
bone.
Italian cannibal fucking film from like the
Yeah.
early 80s.
Yeah.
None of that fun stuff. Like, just like highly polished, about to like go in the back fucking of your science teacher's classroom.
right.
That kind of stuff.
All right. Weird.
Stranger still, some claim that unlike the scattered mess of skin and bones that were the telltale signs of a scavenger's presence, these bones retained their original shape, though not one scrap of flesh remained behind. So they're not crushed, chewed, gnawed, dissembled. They're just
Super clean.
Super clean. Okay.
Super clean.
All right. Weird.
Grown-ups, as they are wont to be, were skeptical of these tales that were brought back by wild-eyed trappers and those who foraged off the land. But the kids in the neighborhood along the river knew better.
Getting the kids involved.
Something was afoot.
Oh, the Goonies.
Oh yeah.
Cloud Goonies.
Yeah, little young Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
It's a little everything in our Monster Squad, Fred Decker. Oh,
That's the deal.
raise a glass. It wasn't long before stories of the bones being discovered were no longer simply about prey animals, but began to include the remains of human beings. It was bound to happen.
The cloud finally murdered man.
Are we not but an animal ourselves, sir?
I
do love that you said that.
The cloud finally murdered man.
I guess we need to stop to address that for a second.
Are we not the masters of the wind?
No, clearly
No.
not.
Oh my God, no. We're not even a type 1 society. We're not the masters of fucking anything. I'm barely the master of the oscillating fan in my room.
I'm sorry.
Fucking master of a
We've
wind.
harnessed the power of wind to make power, electricity.
God bless
We
you.
are the masters of the wind. It's a
We
Man-O-War
were.
song. I'm waiting for Chris to sing it.
Oh, I
Fly away to a rainbow
That's not
in
how
the
it
sky.
goes. I
That's
thought-
completely how it
It is,
goes.
but you got it. I need you.
That's not how it goes. I'm like, that's completely how it
do your
goes.
best. Do your best, man.
know. What I mistook for scientific hubris was really you just calling back to classic sweet metal.
Yeah.
Now I feel
Yeah.
like I missed the boat.
I don't know anything about science. You know that.
You do know we do not control the wind.
that.
Like,
I just get Jabba laugh.
You get Jabba left every week.
Sorry, Robert.
goddamn, if I may. According to some reports, during its 11-year reign of horror, this gaseous Grim Reaper claimed no less than a dozen lives, most of whom were no doubt drunks, derelicts, and drifters, but human beings nevertheless.
Okay.
That's a fancy way, not so fancy way. It's a simple way of saying the police records don't necessarily reflect the mass carnage as
Right.
much as the rumors. But that doesn't mean, I mean, come on, this is the mid 50s to the 60s. This is the pre-love era the full-on beatnik era where you could fall off the fucking radar with no problem, just like move literally 3 towns away, change your name, get a new bank account, 12 dead. Let's just leave it at that.
All right. It could be a cover-up, or the cops don't care.
Both are factors.
The cops could
legitimate factors.
Cops could be in cahoots with the cloud.
Save it for the end.
Doubtful.
As the years went by and the mystery deepened, those who lived in the region began to speculate as to the origin of the so-called carnivorous cloud. Some thought it might represent a geothermal phenomenon and that the animals were literally having their flesh cooked off their bones.
Like an air fryer?
Like that.
Wow. All right.
Just done. Donezo.
Okay.
Others speculated that the ethereal pink mist was an extraordinary new life form hailing from the depths of the inner earth.
Oh, the cloud people.
The cloud people.
You remember in Adventure Time, what's the little pink princess's name?
Lumpy Space Princess.
Lumpy Space Princess. Yeah, she's kind of like a cloud person from the middle of the earth.
Sort of is, but can they like blend? Because now I'm starting to go into like weird places. Like if you are a cloud person, and I never really thought about it being a cloud person, are you really part of the cloud collective?
What is the society
know.
like?
Because it has to be a super hive. It has to be like a hive mind where everyone contributes, and maybe you can break off from the cloud super colony to go do like a secret mission or do some shit for the queen, the cloud
like
queen.
you're like a rogue cloud. You're just
Like Ronin clouds?
the Mandalorian cloud. Where
Yeah,
I do
but
my own thing.
What in your biology, first of all, makes you fucking
You're vapor.
sentient and makes you eat meat?
Right.
Hunger?
Like
What makes us
clouds
eat-
are
what
very
makes us eat
simple
meat?
things.
Yeah, no, now Chris is not wrong. All right, let's give the devil his due.
All right.
Like
well,
what in their biology?
All right,
There's, I think
true.
I think worldwide only 4 clouds in Mensa at most. At most.
That's very presumptuous. You don't know that.
So,
There could be 6.
all right, but all bullshit aside, there might be different ways to harbor intelligence.
Okay.
Including one that you fucking constantly subscribe to that I loathe and fear because I'm a simple man of an older generation, which is called the fucking cloud. Now, perhaps there is a way. I know the analogy is vague
This
and
is
only
meta
exists
and
in
weird.
but the idea that maybe it is a mass intelligence that can form a greater intelligence when it comes together and use said intelligence to find ways to manipulate the environment so it looks as if it is defeating the wind, the hardest thing for a cloud to do. And yet at the same time, it needs nourishment because it is more corporeal than your average vapor. Ergo, it needs to fucking shred the flesh off the bones of the squirrel.
All right. Well, I mean,
I'm just saying.
look, I'm there, dude.
Let's not rule anything out yet.
I'm not. We're not.
Okay.
We're not.
I'm ruling a few things out.
I think Chris. You guys.
No, I'll
you guys
fully
are
make
both,
fun of it at the end of the story.
You guys.
So
you
let's
guys
just
are
get to
both
the end.
ruling everything out.
No, I'm actually ruling a few things.
That's
in.
a valid question to ask why a cloud has intelligence when it's just a couple molecules. That's a pretty fair question, Mark.
I don't know.
I
don't know,
gotta agree
Chris.
with-
It's
I'm
just
with
jumping
Chris
the
on
gun.
this one.
You're jumping the gun, Chris.
We're
Yeah.
going to have some. Well, no, answers is strong. We're going to have some hypotheses / suggestions that have been proposed, but we're going to get there when we get there.
Okay.
So, 2 of them are a geothermal thing, which I don't know if East
Solid,
Florida is rich
solid.
in geothermal Icelandic
Why
fucking
not?
Right.
pockets.
But it's a
maybe.
decent
But
theory.
it's something. It's
It
something.
works.
The other one being a new life form from inner Earth. Granted, that's a little more out there.
Undece theory, but
Yes, but we'll see. Here are a few more. It being the height of the Cold War, it's likely that some hypothesized that it was nothing more than a cloud of radiation.
Not
Perhaps
good.
The fallout, never good. Never, ever good. Perhaps the fallout from a U.S. test, or maybe even an experimental weapon clandestinely deployed by the Soviets from the Cuban shores not far off the Florida coastline.
So it made it from the Cuban shores into Florida, and then it just kind of like went.
Or maybe a secret agent rode a fucking shitbag raft like the refugees did, went somewhere into, the Daytona area and unleashed it.
Okay. So it could be
Killing himself
Could
in
be
the
a
process.
weapon. Okay, could be a weapon. Could totally be a weapon.
Like a dirty bomb, except a sentient super cloud.
Dude, fuck drones. We got cloud weapons.
Cloud-based weapons.
Yeah, dude,
I know,
look
they
at-
could have changed the world.
Like, oh, who's vaping over there? And all of a sudden, fuck.
In 55,
dead.
no.
you're
was saying
dead. You're
that.
clean bones
Yeah, you're clean bones.
before you know it.
More rational minds, we should be glad for that, concluded that if the mist existed at all, it was likely a chemical reaction, perhaps the environmentally horrific byproduct of a local toxic waste dump. So the rational minds say geothermal vents.
Okay.
I think that can be pretty easily proven or disproven by a geologist, and I don't know about the massive geothermal vents of Florida. Toxic waste? Maybe.
Does toxic waste produce clouds that are sentient, though?
Not that we know of.
Well, the essential part
outside
is
of Stan
still
Lee
debatable.
and fucking Lloyd Kaufman, probably not.
Because normally toxic waste dumps, it's just like, cancer.
But
like, it's not
sentience
good.
aside, what we're really dealing with is corrosive.
Okay.
Sentience
Yeah.
is an assumption based on the fact that, and granted, anonymous
It
eyewitness,
fought the wind.
an anonymous eyewitness claimed that
One person saw
it was
some-
coming from southwest,
Ah,
fought
Jesus
the wind.
Christ.
and this thing went boom, dead up in the face of wind. And maybe it did. Maybe it was a rolling, thick mask of viscous, not even a vapor anymore. Part liquid, part like when you get into that part of fucking earth science where shit gets weird and you're like, what are you?
Yeah.
I know you're wet.
Are you a
icky.
vapor or
I
liquid?
mean-
Yeah, I know.
You're a reaction of
just
some sort.
the wind was going a different way where they were as opposed to the cloud.
Don't deny the.
All right,
don't-
so there
don't
are
deny
there are
it.
things
There's a
that
lot
you
of
Don't
don't
deny it.
But what we're really worried about right here
smart.
are
Fought
the
the wind.
corrosive element.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
that's the deal.
weird.
And now here's the thing. Now I'm going to digress again. And I know I've told this story, but maybe not on this podcast, but I think I've told it to you guys individually. And I remember being asleep in the summer in the late 70s on Pine Ave in Auburn, New York, our hometown. And a loudspeaker in a car going by saying, everyone needs to get out of their homes.
Yeah, I remember
There's a
this.
dangerous cloud. Do you remember when this
Yeah,
happened?
I remember the story you told me. I
And
don't remember
fucking-
having it.
And I remember we all had to pack up, and
I
my
remember
parents
that.
were like, "Get us out to the car, get us out to the car." It was like late 70s, early 80s. I was young. I was still in single digits, and I was like, "What the fuck is?" I mean, I didn't even say "fuck" that much back then. Maybe 7 or 8 times a day. But I was like, "The fuck is going on, Mom?" And she's like, "We just got to get out of here. We got to get out." So we went out of town to Cuga Village, some like 3 villages away, and spent the night at my uncle's house. And I just remember thinking, what kind of weird chemical thing? Now, I've never really gone into the archives. You'd think I would have. It was foundational for terrifying me because this was just like something out of, and this is something we were talking about the other day, Mark, Hell of the Living Dead, that Bruno Mattei film, where the gas leaked out of like Hope Center 1 and the dead rise. It was like a bad sci-fi moment, but I thought I smelled something acrid when I went outside, but that to me in retrospect was just pure paranoia.
So what year was this?
I can't tell you exactly. I know
But
it was late
you were-
70s
late
or
70s.
very
Okay, all
early
right.
80s.
All right.
And that we were
Well,
evacuated.
we're
The
gonna
whole
look
neighborhood
this
was
up.
evacuated.
So you saw other people when you were
Other
outside?
people were packing in and leaving.
See, I don't know you people. I don't think we talked about it, but I literally grew up around the corner.
Right.
yes,
And
Chris.
I
was up
never
the
knew
hill and around the horn.
like my section was like where my street met Prine. It was if you took a right, it was Prine Street. If you took a left, it was Prine Ave.
Yeah.
Right.
Prine Street was where my friends were and where my school was, and so everyone on Prine Ave.
No,
I just never
I was
walked
down
that.
in the valley of slum.
You were.
Let's
Yeah,
be
a little
frank,
bit,
you
yeah, a
know,
little bit.
And a lot of
because
the kids
it
I
went
met-
down precipitously
Yeah, it did.
down a hill, and it was like a completely different
So
world.
were you near the ship plant?
Yeah, well, yeah, about halfway,
He's about
between
halfway
the ship
down
plant
to Canoga or whatever.
where
Oh,
Chris
all
lived.
right, all right.
So I don't know what it was or where it was, but I
I
will
don't
say
remember.
this.
That never happened.
The
I would remember that.
abject fear that I felt having to leave the home in the middle of the night, that things might be poisonous. Now you got to remember, there's like 3 Mile Island and there's fucking the Love Canal. I mean, I'd seen just enough of the news to be paranoid.
Yeah.
And I was just smart enough to get that some treacherous shit was going on, but
Right.
not well versed in the world because I was a fucking small child. But that really stuck with me. And for some reason, I think that made me gravitate to this story all the more, in that the idea of something potentially dangerous, possibly corrosive, that whether or not it's sentient, like that's the most fascinating part, I'll grant, but that's not to me the most salient part. The most salient part is its absolute destructive capacity.
Yeah.
And so I know I went on a digression, but I've got to say, I'm telling this story because it's fun and interesting and because it reminds me of like bad sci-fi and bad horror films
Well,
from
it's
that era.
completely a
But
bad
also
sci-fi
because
movie.
it triggers a deep personal memory fear of a moment where I thought I might never be able to go home
I'm gonna
again.
do some digging for you because my grandfather was a fireman in the 70s. So I'll ask him to see what he says.
Yeah.
Because I'm guaranteed he'll remember.
But I don't remember that.
It was a car. It was a white car, looked almost like a station wagon with a siren on top,
Unless it was super
and
local.
a loudspeaker.
so
Unless it was a fucking.
Because I
batshit crazy
would have
hoax.
completely remembered that.
But I remember, like, as I walked outside, other people were coming outside with blankets, bundling their cars.
I mean,
with
maybe
their
it
kids,
was. It was
leaving off.
just some asshole. 'Cause,
Yeah, could you imagine?
could have been.
like, how could I have just been there and not me? Literally, it was a 5-minute
All
walk.
I could think is that lower, like maybe whatever it was couldn't rise up, because literally the hill of Crine Ave.
It's a whole-
the difference
it's all
between
a
where you
hill.
I mean, we didn't live that far apart, but it was.
No.
It is a fairly steep drop.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, I know that digression really didn't help the story, but I wanted to let our listeners and my buddies know that that this is something I identify
All
with.
right. Well, I'm going to look into it
In
and
a
get,
crazy
and
deep
get
way,
back
and
to
yeah,
you.
I hope we can come to a conclusion. Next, we'll check on the lake monster. I almost caught that everyone wants to fucking tell me was a fuck sucking.
Oh, yeah.
Mud skipper or whatever.
It
Yeah.
was a mud puppy, but yeah, it's okay. You know what? It's your lake monster, and I appreciate it.
It was a Zeuglodon.
Okay.
An infant. No, we're gonna.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
Each one in its place.
Exactly.
We're on clouds now. We're high on clouds now. Okay. So new species from Inner Earth. That's a bit of a stretch. But fucking. But the idea that it might be either fallout, again, possibly a stretch,
All right.
or a chemical spill of some sort, much like the thing that at least I believed I contended
And
with
don't
when I
forget
was
to
young.
get toxic waste. Got the old toxic
That's what I'm
Avengers.
talking about.
Toxic Avenger theory is in there.
That could be corrosive.
Okay, yeah.
It is funny though that literally like everything that was mentioned is an origin for a mid-60s Marvel character.
Yeah, no,
totally,
100%.
yeah.
What it really is the origin of leukemia.
Yeah, seriously.
But in the
totally.
hands of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby,
No, you get
it's a
you
whole
get
other
powers.
recap.
Totally.
Okay. At the same time as folks were avoiding the deep woods and the death curse therein, locals began gathering en masse on Tomoka Farms Road to watch a dazzling yet inexplicable display of red and white lights, which would come to be known as the Tomoka Lights. This is something that is different from the fog, but during the same period, it was another ostensibly paranormal phenomenon that people were shitting themselves about.
Okay.
These balls of crimson and bright white energy seemed to defy gravity, chase cars, and were believed by some to represent the spirit of a deceased Timucua chief named Tomoki. I apologize if I said the tribe name wrong.
Ball lightning or spectral entity.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's like Marfa lights. There's a lot of
Yeah.
light things.
All right.
But it's interesting that it's happening in the
The same time
area,
as, dude,
same time.
the cannibal cloud.
Some even maintain that the carnivorous pink cloud that gobbled everything up in its path was nothing less than the embodiment of the great warrior himself, who was doomed to forever wander the earth, consuming all as punishment for defiling a sacred spring, some say the actual fountain of youth.
We got the Native
That shit-
American
that shit
curse.
went deep.
Yeah.
So now
Oh,
we're going.
man.
Now we're going
All right.
into classic Amityville territory.
yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we're going into. So it's not just a sentient cloud; it is an undulating pink mass of Native American
Yeah,
rage.
guarding the Fountain of
The
Youth.
Fountain of Youth, perhaps.
Dude, you moved the headstones, but you didn't remove the graves.
You did it,
Yeah,
big
dead, moved graves.
Yeah, exactly.
Did ya?
When Coach yells at you in the rain,
When Craig T. Nelson
Coach.
is acting with James Caron in a middle of a strobe light fake storm that Spielberg was directing while Toby Hooper smoked somewhere nearby, it was an extraordinary moment in cinema history.
Permanent break.
and permanent break. All right.
Take a 5-2.
That's not me saying it. That's Gunnar Hansen telling me that.
All
Yes,
right.
Leatherface told me that.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
All right, OG.
I believe it.
But I'm dropping names, trying to look cool.
All right, it's cool.
Let's just forget about that now.
Give me a part of your autobiography.
Let's-
dropping names being cool. Rob Morphy.
Okay, now here's the fucking flip side. The single biggest problem with this theory, aside from the unknowable nature of curses and the corporeal limitations of the damned, both of which you could probably write volumes about,
Well,
is that Chief Tomoki was a fictional folk hero who never actually existed. He's got a statue.
Man,
he's got a
really?
legend.
So he's a tulpa? Is that what
I
happened?
told you
He's
this.
a
my
tulpa?
God.
I told you.
Hold
I
on to
told
that.
you this was going to come up.
Savor that, because yes,
I called it in the
might be
beginning.
the weight of belief,
Yeah.
but in a historical sense.
Okay.
There was the Timucua, and again, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, people, and they had many famed chiefs and had a lot of historical battles and confrontations with, the insurgent Europeans and all sorts of shit. But Tomoki, not a real dude.
Okay.
So,
Well, okay.
Bummer.
Tulpa aside,
Tulpa.
it's probably not that. Nevertheless, there are those who insist that anything as evidently insidious as an all-devouring mass of bone-polishing, pulsating pink shadow must be of supernatural origin. So even acknowledging that Chief Tomoki is not a real person. There are plenty who think that just the idea of an intelligent vapor that eats everything in its path and can fight the wind and does what it wants implies supernatural or paranatural if you want to be more scientific about it. Yeah. Supernatural says magic to me. Paranatural is like magic with the hope of science.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus.
It is a fine
Really?
distinction.
Okay.
It is a fine but essential distinction.
All right.
Because here's the thing. I never want to give up the fucking ghost of science. I love the idea that anything can be categorized and understood and not necessarily made pedestrian. There's bound to be phenomenal. I mean, with quantum mechanics, who knows what clouds can do? But I am going to err on the side of the paranatural at this point.
Okay, all right.
In this one case.
All right.
Okay. Whatever the genesis of the carnivorous pink cloud of Tomoka may have been, a mere decade after its arrival, it was never seen again. Perhaps the ancient curse had finally been satisfied, or an environmental disaster barely averted.
Barely.
Miles apart, but both could be true. Just by the skin of its teeth.
Fucking Chernobyl or curse?
Yeah,
what are you
exactly.
going to do?
Right
you
on.
go. All right.
There's a possibility.
Vaporous chlorine cloud, curse.
Oh, cool. The chlorine. Or maybe, just maybe, the unfathomable thing is lying in wait, burrowed snugly in the ground like a 17-year cicada, just waiting to once again rear its nebulous head, assuming, of course, it has a head at all.
Was it nestled?
It's always nestled.
Oh, good.
But I said burrowed snugly. You implied nestled. But you know why you did that?
Why?
Because you sure as fuck knew it was.
I knew that it was nestled.
You know how Uncle Rob's mind works.
Yeah, I do.
You know, in the end, I really want everyone to be. Like, I don't care if you're a monster or fucking our wonderful listeners. I want you to be at home in a warm blanket, snuggled up,
nestled.
Yeah.
I wish nestling for everybody.
Nestle with your cannibal cloud.
It's our
tonight.
2020 hope for you people.
It is indeed.
Be nestled.
From us to you, a gift.
There you go.
The only problem is the animal-filled forests, which once served as its feeding ground back in the 1950s and 60s, are no longer there. The trees have long since been uprooted and replaced with serene suburban streets and tract homes filled with a new kind of creature. Us.
I knew it.
Horrible man. The intrusion of man.
Indeed.
Bambi, it's man.
Right. So, Tiger Bay Preserve, those like swaths of deer-infested forest. I always like saying infested, as if they're ticks. Deer-infested forest.
Yeah.
Fucking where people would hunt and see this ostensibly intelligent polishing of the bone.
Not anymore,
cloud.
man. Man came
Maybe.
in.
All of a sudden now it's fucking suburbia.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
what's happening.
Yeah.
It's the deal.
Morphe, it's man. That's an
Wow.
even better one. Yeah,
Indeed.
exactly.
Let's hope, for the sakes of those living in the cannibal cloud's corrosive path, that it manages to hibernate just a bit longer. And even though most of us can dismiss our youthful, gut-sickening fears of fog and what might lurk therein as irrational, foolish, and unfounded, always remember that for a brief stretch of time in the continental United States, there were those who truly were convinced that the fog wouldn't just chase you, it would eat you alive.
Oh, what a way to end it. Excellent.
cloud!
Yeah, wow. Cannibal pink clouds.
So, yes, we can concede that there's a lot of this that smacks of folklore, urban legend.
Right.
Information that is passed between
Yeah.
teens and tweens and then generationally becomes something more. But what I am fascinated by is, although it's very hard to corroborate, the alleged adult observations of these things that were apparently frightening, whether or not there was a dozen or 24
The
corpses.
trappers and the fishermen, man. They see it. They're out there doing the shit.
They were seeing something.
Yeah.
And that
Doing it.
But the short window is what entertains me, because if it's truly fiction, and it may be, we can all admit that, but if it's truly 100% fucking nothing more than suburban legend, then it would grow and perpetuate and become malignant, if you will, with each generation. And instead it was like, yeah, no, around 66 it dried up. No one saw the pink cloud again. It was over. Good job.
Yeah, well.
There's still like fucking crazy lights of an Indian chief that wasn't there, or probably ball lightning, or maybe seismic electric activity that has not yet been understood and certainly wasn't understood in the mid 20th century.
Right.
But what I'm fascinated by is the small window and the fear. That's the one thing I got from all the different things I read, be it little brief articles or people that were writing their own personal testimonials. Like if you were a teenager at the time,
you knew
in the Daytona area, then this was some shit. And that to me impressed me even more. It doesn't mean that they were all like true believers and like, oh my God, but that this was something you like took note of.
All right, so skeptically speaking, I mean, we could just be obviously, like you said, dealing with folklore, or maybe if you are dealing with something that is natural, well, I guess unnatural, like a toxic waste dump. The only thing about that, though, is I don't know much about gases and fogs and how they work.
Gases and fogs.
Gases and fogs. I don't know. Do we have a gas and fog expert out there?
I thought you'd be the one.
Chuck Quilty. He would know.
He's a gas and fog expert?
He's an expert in a lot of shit. He's a smart dude.
Yeah, but he's not here right
Gas
now.
and
No, he's
fog.
not. But he is on our Facebook page, and if he's not in our Facebook group, he could join
what?
and explain gas and fog
I'm going to do
us.
the rarest thing. I'm going to type in corrosive fog.
Corrosive fog.
If it was some sort of corrosive, fog that came from the toxic waste dump. I mean,
Yeah, but a 10-year corrosive fog?
Well,
Listen, this story is 90% holes.
you're correct. It is. It is
Like one person
90%
saw
holes.
something look like a
It
cloud,
is.
and there was wind blowing, and it didn't go the same way. It's like, oh my
Right.
God, it knows what it's doing.
Well, we don't know for a fact that only one person saw it fight.
I'm
fight
going
the
by
will of the wind.
I'm going
in
by
my
the
heart-
story.
In my heart, it fought the wind, and that is a truth amongst
And people didn't
truths.
see like it's not like a movie where like, hey, look, there's cattle, and all of a sudden this cloud went by, and then
Right.
bones were left.
which
well,
would have been brilliant.
It
by the
would have
way.
been, but that's not what happened either.
If there
and so
was-
it's still an assumption to even think that the cloud is doing this.
Right, well, yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, Chris is absolutely
Technically.
right. You have to.
I'm not sure corrosive, like, as far as like, it's a long story, but I've been like hit with chlorine,
Yes.
like clouds and shit, and it hurts and it burns and like it fucks your skin up and shit. But it's not like corrosive to that level. I'm not sure what would be that corrosive where it would actually.
I'm pretty
eat
sure.
the flesh
You'd have
off
to be
your
well,
bones.
you'd have to be like in a chlorine bath.
Well, yeah, it
Like,
would
not
be
just like a
yeah,
fog,
it would
I
be
don't
like
think.
getting yeah.
Or yeah, a sulfuric
But-
acid plume.
I don't even
But
think.
even then, I don't think it would do it.
think anything can really do that. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I don't either.
mustard
Even-
gas doesn't eat the bone,
No.
doesn't eat the flesh off your bones.
But I was
I
saying
mean, it sucks.
it's
but
pretty easy to make.
it is
mustard
still an
gas,
assumption to
but-
think that the cloud is even what's
The one
doing
doing
it.
it.
So you think maybe something else is doing the killing, and they're just trying to use the cloud as cover? Ooh,
I have no idea if they're using the
Okay.
cloud as cover. If they just think it's like if like a puma all of a sudden appeared in my backyard,
Jesus.
right? And all of a sudden like dead animals show up, like ripped the fuck up. You're gonna think
Right.
like, oh, clearly it was a puma, but you don't know that.
all right. So maybe they're just conflating natural
Wow.
predatory actions with the cloud.
with an
The
anomalous
cloud is something totally different.
It
meteorological
could be the cloud
effect.
could be related to the thing, but there's
Okay.
there's still nothing saying that the cloud is the thing doing it.
Okay, so maybe
I'm just pointing that out. I'm not
It's okay.
saying
Could
Like-
the cloud and the murder be separate?
they could be.
I
Of
would
course they could
love
be.
to have said,
Or not.
and Harold Jenkins watched as the happy bunny bounced about until it was enveloped in the fog,
Right.
and then there was nothing but skeleton. I can't because I found no such report.
All right. Well,
So,
let's just go under the assumption
yes.
that the cloud's doing the killing. It sounds cool.
It seems,
Sounds good.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
I'm just pointing it out. That's
No,
all.
I'm with you on that.
Stop getting mad.
But before
I'm
the
not
cloud
getting
was
mad.
seen, it seemed to be full of prey animals. People hunted it vigorously.
Yeah.
People lived off the land. Again, this is 55 to 66. So
Right.
the urban sprawl, as prolific as it was in the post-World War II years, was not nearly as magnificent or detrimental as it's become in the latter 20th
Yeah, sure.
and 21st centuries. So there was a lot of genuine rural areas where people were able to like make a living trapping and just feeding themselves and their families via hunting. But suddenly, with the appearance of this pinkish cloud-like thing, and its density is sort of vague, suddenly not only are the prey animals not showing up,
Yeah.
but highly polished, fully intact skeletons are showing up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by some reports, those of humans as well.
Okay.
And there's probably a lot of
So-
people that were living off the grid back then. You know, Korean War vets, who knows?
Dude,
People that
Florida in
weren't like-
'66 was probably wild as fuck.
and that's a place if you want to be homeless. No one wants to be homeless. If you happen to have to be homeless, you want to be in a place that doesn't have a winter.
Yeah, there's gators and shit, and nice weather.
You could probably
Dope.
live off the land pretty
Fucking Disney
well
World?
if you were trained.
It's the shit.
Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah.
Our Disney World came a little later in the 60s.
Oh, did it?
So yeah,
Fuck.
this was. I think the pink cloud in Disney World. I don't think we can make the
Wasn't
conspiracy
there?
stick there.
All right, shit. So the toxic waste dump though is kind of interesting because if the area is polluted, that would give reason as to why a lot of the natural fauna, the animals and whatnot,
Would be dead.
were dead and or gone. Although what that also could play into though, if there is an area where people are dumping, I mean, it was the '60s. I'm sure there.
Oh, it was
wasn't-
probably carte blanche.
you could just dump
Yeah.
whatever you
Who
wanted.
gave a fuck?
If it was like
It was
industrial,
like somewhere between Eisenhower and Nixon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know Kennedy was there a smidge in between. Fucking people were probably just throwing plutonium rods
Yeah, there's no
in
rules.
their backyard.
There's
they
no-
didn't
yeah.
give fucks back then.
if it was industrial waste though and it was being dumped at a certain site, if you are just piling shit in there, you're going to create a chemical reaction
Right.
of something, which could cause some sort of vaporous cloud to appear. Might not necessarily be eating the bones off of the little furry rabbit's body or the meat off the bones, but could explain the actual seeing a pink cloud.
So, assuming that this was at least in a small way a genuine phenomenon,
Right.
Regardless of everything else, what we're dealing with is one of a few things. A chemical problem that
Could be.
maybe
Yeah.
may have been spawned by toxic waste, where something is corrosive and maybe doesn't polish the bones completely and literally dissolve every piece
Yeah,
of
that-
organic
that's-
matter.
I'm a little
That's a little heavy-handed.
Too, yeah.
That goes into Jack Harris's The Blob territory a little
like
bit,
the sun and
which was
scavengers.
also mid to late 50s.
The sun and or scavengers will bleach bones.
Right.
100%.
So something chemical. I doubt it's something radioactive because it's not notorious for something being visible, for one thing.
Right.
And there would probably be a lot of other telltale signs like vegetation rotting, cancer rates rising.
Yep.
Now, granted, I didn't do a real super
Poisoned
extensive
water.
study
Dude,
of what was going
right.
on, but I don't necessarily think that's the case either.
Poisoning the water table.
Exactly.
It's a big one.
So, scientifically speaking, you have a few options, though none of them fit the bill completely, of something that could have happened, something that has been the spawn of a million monsters and a million cheesy superheroes, both
Yep.
of which I adore
Same here.
in the 50s and 60s, but not necessarily anything significant, be it chemical, doubtfully radioactive. The other side is the supernatural side, which is not my favorite place to go, the old magic whale territory. Obviously, the mysterious legendary Indian chief was not a real person, but the idea of something, because when you see a slow crawling fog in a forest, I can't help but to hearken back to especially the original Evil Dead and those
Oh, yeah.
tracking
Yeah,
shots, like
totally.
the fucking
that's the
2x4
deal.
steady cam
Yeah.
that was employed.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, all right, if this is a sentient thing, be it either supernatural or just biological, and not necessarily even a cloud, maybe something that just moves weird. Let us not forget the lessons learned in the Kinderhook Blob episode.
Oh
Things can
yeah,
be
it
fucking
was what was it?
Soft and fluffy.
Yeah.
They
It
can
was,
look like a floating Virgin Mary. It can be 14 seagulls in a
No,
bed sheet.
yeah, Chris figured it out. It was like a seagull like in a paper bag or a plastic bag or
Oh,
something.
God,
right?
yeah, what was that?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Seagull in
sure.
a blanket or
It
something.
was a
Seagull in a
blanket
seagull
or
in
seagull in a
bag,
sheet or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Flamingos are indigenous to Florida waters.
Oh, you're bringing the fucking flamingo into this?
What if there was an actual chemical spill
you rat bastard?
and the flamingos were affected,
Okay, bring it.
had seizures,
Whoa.
but were still trying to function and get back to their fucking acidic waters where they could feed? So basically you have a bunch of epileptic flamingos undulating through the forest floor, knocking
In the
shit
guise of a
willy-nilly.
fog.
Going to get but
all right.
but you're forgetting one of these eyewitnesses was a fisherman in a boat from a distance. Another one was probably a drunken hunter. These eyewitnesses aren't necessarily reliable. A rolling pile of flamingos and fucking random forest detritus making their way fucking home because of a chemical spill that created a vapor that created the seizure. So it's rolling flamingos and a gas, resulting in the illusion of an 11-year pink cloud attack.
All right. Well, you know what?
I'm not saying it's my favorite. Listen,
I
I'm
know-
just pissing in the wind here.
I'm saying that your theory is well thought out, solid, cinematically sound, and goddamn it, I like it.
and just
but
made up right now.
I'm just gonna go back with it that it's possibly, it's a cloud person from the center of the earth. That's my jam.
All right, so
Why the center of the earth?
let's not fucking dismiss this completely. Because
No, I
if
am.
you are a cloud form, if you
live in the center of the earth.
If you guys remember the old Japanese films, God bless you, Ishiro Honda, like H-Man, the human vapor, the idea that a sentient being can become disincorporate, and then, or even John Carpenter's The Fog, aforementioned, which is a stone fucking classic and deserves many more props than it gets. Fucking whatever. Maybe these things are not supernatural, but just creatures that can assume different forms to hide, to make their way through the woods. And maybe they're just hunting. Maybe they're just eating. Maybe they're not. It's not just like this. I mean, it really does feel like the Blob, except that it's gas instead of slime, where it just sucks everything in and you get nothing but bone and shit.
But Rob, we might be dealing with Occam's razor.
And the simplest conclusion is
Cloud people that live in the center of the earth.
And their agenda is
They don't have one.
go Gators.
Go. They're real big Florida State fans.
Dude, what else would make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
I like the idea
like
of
cloud
sentient
people.
vapor. Not as much as plants, which is clear and obvious, and we're not, I know you guys are going to fucking poo-poo it.
No, we
but
can't
there's
poo-poo
science
it.
behind that.
You know why we can't poo-poo it anymore? Because all of our listeners are all on your side with their happy, oh, look, there's everything's fucking loves animal or plants and shit memes.
Wow.
Not really.
Well, that was very dismissive.
It was very dismissive.
You know there's science behind it. Real science.
I'm talking about cloud people that live in the center of the fucking
Ish.
earth, okay?
Do they have to live in the center? Can they live, like, just below the mantle? And why are they coming up?
To feed
On...
humans.
Okay.
Well, if they're clouds, why do they live in the ground, not in the sky?
Because...
Well, gas can live anywhere.
yeah, exactly.
Why in the ground?
Why not?
What's the benefit?
That's where gas is. When you drill for gas, you don't drill in the sky. You drill in the ground.
Who says we need to drill for these things?
I'm using an
Oh my
analogy.
God, are you saying fracking caused the cloud
Are you-
people?
so you're saying it's
cloud
outdated?
bands?
So if it's
Jesus,
like
are
a-
we an anti-fracking podcast now?
If it's an intelligent
I don't know, if you like to drink
methane
water.
cloud,
Yeah. That's not a political stance. That's just a, not dying stance.
you are going to get us a bunch of bad reviews. I hope you're happy.
I hope not. Really,
First
honestly.
it was Chris with his presidential attacks.
Listen,
it wasn't even
It's you with your fracking.
This is not a political
presidential
bias.
attacks.
This is a fucking I want to drink shit that is not detrimental to my shit.
All right, I'm sticking with cloud people. I don't know their agenda.
Okay,
I don't
fine,
have to know their
fine.
agenda. They're there.
Fine.
Who the fuck are we to even ask
Fine.
what
Who are
they're
we to
doing?
judge a cloud?
Yeah, they're clouds.
You
Fuck
judge
'em.
a cloud? How
Yeah.
dare you?
Seriously. I'm going to...
Let ye who is turned to vapor throw the first gas stone.
I'm just going to guess that maybe
Nice.
in all actuality we're just dealing with a really cool folklore story that I kind of wished more shit
I think
like this
it's
was
based
around.
on something, though.
I
really do.
Kind of like how we have creepy
it's
pastas
probably
now.
based on the dead things they found.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
And-
I think skeletal remains were found. Perhaps they were associated with something. I think there might have been a genuinely corrosive cloud. I think if something was moving against the wind, it was not probably vapor. No, honestly. It was not, as I called it, and I'm very proud of this one, a gaseous Grim Reaper. But perhaps
gaseous
something
Grim Reaper.
that had more substance. Maybe like a blob-like thing. Maybe something that is part slime. Maybe it's fungal. Can we ever take fungal terrestrials off the table anymore? Now that they've been introduced into part of the pantheon by us,
The fungal terrestrial?
they never existed before. They're here now.
Oh, no.
Must we ignore them?
No,
Our
we-
fungus brothers. Not alive, not dead, sometimes edible, often repugnant,
All right.
Yeah, they're gross.
Yeah, okay.
living in the bottom of a bachelor sink. But,
All right.
but seriously, I love this because it's clearly folkloric. And it's clearly something that, much like the Iron Man of Gorbals, which we is a Patreon episode, but for our listeners is like basically a piece of mass hysteria that affected Scottish children who all went to the cemetery at night hunting this huge vampiric entity with fucking iron teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did so with great aplomb and bravery.
And this probably is one of those really cool, just local folklore tales.
Very
that
much
just
so.
kind of got passed around.
I doubt a dozen people died. I doubt that once rich environments of forest full of wildlife were nothing but glistening boneyards.
Yeah.
Because had that happened, that would have been in National Geographic. And
Yeah,
other
you would
things at
know.
the
Yeah,
time.
this would be a bigger
Yeah, but
thing.
you-
But,
but you know
there
what, though?
still
It-
might be a nugget of something. Legit.
something, but
it
what's
was
the something?
It was the 60s, though,
Is it chemical,
well, in 50s.
paranormal,
and 50s.
or cryptozoological? Those are really the only three choices. If there is a nugget of truth,
Yeah.
it is either something the most Passive and prosaic is either, like, say, toxic waste or something that fell off a truck or just something that, dried some leaves, killed a few fucking squirrels. They eventually desiccated on their own.
Yeah.
Or something paranormal, which opens up, again, that broad spectrum of fuck all knows what. And including the magic whale, where it's just like, magical specters from beyond, curses from ancient Native American lore, or just the beings from the inner earth that want to rule us, or something cryptozoological in the sense that an animal that is atypical of what we are used to.
Okay.
A creature that maybe isn't completely gas, though maybe it gives off a lot of gas, that moves in a way that looks like vapor creeping across the ground, but isn't necessarily purely gaseous.
Okay.
And that way it is not enslaved to the whims of the wind, and that does devour the things that it happens to come upon.
All right, Christopher.
I mean, there's the purple glob in Philadelphia, which, I've written about in the past. It just fell from the sky and kind of dissolved like star jelly, and 2 cops reported it. But
weird.
If well, I guess we can't outrule. We didn't even throw in extraterrestrial. If it is some weird,
could be, yeah. There
sentient or not even. I mean, if it's just a pure predator. If it's like, can you call Ebola sentient? It wants to fucking feed, destroy, and breed.
There was lights that were seen, so that could maybe. Well, I guess it is.
But the lights, I think,
terrestrial.
I don't necessarily think they're related to the overall phenomenon.
No. So maybe this could be some sort of like
a super amoeba,
maybe, or just like some sort of weird alien, like environmental thing.
What if a single-celled organism came from a planet that's so much bigger than ours? It literally fucking
looks
becomes
like fog. Okay,
basically the tarp you put on your pool to warm it in the winter.
Oh, the old soil
or to cover it from snow,
right.
and it's moving around and it's eating, and then eventually it's like, oh, Earth, it's fucking weird, it sucks, and it dies and it dissolves and shrivels, and there's no scientific basis. All that is left are a couple of sightings that lasted for maybe a few years, but the legend went on for a decade, and some bones, and we'll never know because it's some fucking crazy alien that came here to eat shit and die.
Christopher, what do you think?
I don't even know.
What is your gut?
It's
what is your
really
gut? What is
loose.
Chris's stomach telling him?
This one's a tough one.
What do you think?
It's all loose. Everything is loose.
You normally pull it together for us.
You could take the fog out, and it would still be almost the same. Look, what would you think it was if somebody didn't see something that looked like a cloud not be affected by wind? And the story was, hey, there's a spat where people found clean bones.
Yep. I mean, we've had seagulls and sheets before.
Like, you can kind of take each one out and be like, well, are they even connected? There's nothing saying that any of it is.
Besides my epileptic flamingos, what else could cause the illusion of this?
I don't know.
I mean, I grant you that was fucking bizarre and tongue-in-cheek, but still.
I don't fucking know.
Robert, what theory are you going to be going with?
There's so many. I do love your cloud people.
Could be Nazis.
I love the idea of it.
Could be Nazis?
Yeah, it's always
Florida Nazis?
If you're talking
Nazi
50s,
technology,
there's
Florida Nazis.
no accounting for the Nazis up through the 50s.
It's Cold War-y, but yeah, it could be.
Fuck.
Maybe the Soviets managed, in a pre-digital world, you can't like Tron fucking Jeff Bridges into like little fucking zeros and ones, but maybe they managed to fucking vaporize him in a way that, kind of like that character from Hellboy, if you contain it in a fucking suit, there's some, like that German scientist, you know the character I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
He has some manifest power, but once it dissipates...
He's ectoplasm, yeah.
Right,
yep.
But not ectoplasm, hyperplasmic humanity, where these fucking Soviets created this thing that could only live for so long, and he was a lieutenant, and he was well decorated, and his fucking family was given a great pension, and his whole point was to go to America and learn what he could from whatever RAF base or whatever was down there, and maybe do a little damage along the way and dissipate, because it was a fucking long-term 11-year suicide mission, and he knew he would slowly fucking dissipate, and at best he was a pink cloud, and at worst he was a man full of regret.
All right, I'm sticking with my original theory of cloud people in the center of the earth, because that's where my heart is.
And I'm going with sad Soviet.
Sad Soviet. There you
sad
go.
Soviet mutant.
Mutant.
And Chris?
Hot steam.
Hot steam.
They're hot Florida steam. Oh, them gators.
Hot,
there
wet
you go.
Florida steam.
Geothermal, bitches.
Oh, the old pink
shit.
steam of danger. Daytona.
Pink steam of Daytona. It sounds like a racing team or something.
Yeah. It sounds like something that you need to shower after.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so there you have it. Thank you for joining us for the Kryptonaut Podcast. As always, the social medias. Put up your theory on the socials. Put it on the Facebook fan group. Put it up there. It's a good time. If you're not checking that out, check that out. It's
Absolutely.
pretty dope.
It's fucking awesome.
Again, Chuck Quilty, if you are not in the Facebook fan group, good sir, please join there. I'm calling you out by name.
Right.
Mr. Quilty.
Help us with our signs.
Yep, get up there. Help me with signs. Help me with math. Help me read. Help me be a better person.
Wow, that's asking a
Thank
lot.
you.
Wow, Chuck, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
That's
Chuck's
he's
a
putting
good
a lot
dude.
on you.
Chuck's a solid dude.
Help him with one thing at a time. You've got your own life.
So check all that out. The Instas, the Twitters, again, the Facebooks. Do hellerspace.com. We got some new designs. Rob's working on a couple. I'm working on a couple.
Yes, we are.
We have another company working on something for us. So check all that out. There is a sale happening at the end of the month. Be sure to always buy shit on sale. Don't ever buy things if they're not on sale. What are we forgetting? We're forgetting something. I don't remember.
We really?
Patreon. Patreon.com/Kryptonaut
yes,
Podcast.
of course.
Yes, we're actually gonna record January's episode right now. So check that out. $1 gets you a shout out. $5 gets you a shout out and some bonus audio. Thank you to everyone who's over there supporting us.
Totally.
It's kind of weird that we actually make money doing this.
It's amazing.
And we appreciate everyone that donates.
I actually provided a nice Christmas this year for my family.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
I know,
amazing.
right?
You guys are the fucking best.
We can keep the podcast going. We can keep all of our podcast bills paid, and we can buy equipment
Fix the
and
gear
all
when
fix
it
the
needs
gear.
to be.
Yeah, all,
Yeah.
we get all kinds of shit. Pay for the hosting. Everything's dope. So thank you all so much to support us over there. I don't know why you do it, but you do it. So thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's kind of weird. We talk about all the time how strange it is that people enjoy it that much. They're willing to put hard-earned cash down. But thank you.
But it makes us happy as fuck.
And we appreciate
not just the
you.
cash part, but the fact that you're willing to do it. I think
totally.
honestly, it's the liking it that means so much more to me than anything
Oh,
else.
totally. We appreciate
fucking
all your
nuts.
support.
because we're fucking idiots.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we're definitely not
Yeah,
smart.
God damn it.
Yeah, we appreciate all the
Epileptic
support.
flamingos. I mean, shit.
All the support from the Patreon and the non-Patreon listeners. Thank you all so very much for your support.
And
2020, it's going to be a great year.
Final shout out to our anonymous superfan.
Oh, totally.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
the
definitely.
sweet gift of Sasquatch, and thank everyone else that sends us awesome things. I
We
mean,
appreciate
you
it.
have no idea. It's literally like every time Mark rolls up with some stuff, because he has our secret mail account, he always gets to see it first. So he tells us that, oh, I got surprises for you, and then Chris and I get all giddy,
Yeah.
and then we show up, and then he shows us, and it literally is. It's like fan Christmas. You guys are the fuck-sucking best ever, period, amen.
Also, too, before we leave here, be sure to send us your encounters, whether it's ghost, alien, cryptid, whatever you got going on.
And
Kryptonaut
whatever
Podcast.
pseudonym you want us to use.
KryptonautPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to remain anonymous, let us know. We've got a ton of them already.
Yeah, and we're collecting them.
We're
and
collecting them.
It's probably going to be a series.
Yeah, we're going to be going through them. So send us all of
And
your...
a handful of them that are particularly intriguing, you will be getting follow-up questions from me or
Totally.
Mark.
Totally.
And that might become a full-on explosive fucking pod.
There you have it. Thank you so very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.
Oh, hashtag Soviet steam. I think we know what really happened now.
Is Soviet steam like a
Hot
Pornhub
steam.
search term or something?
Well, it could be.
be.
I mean, if you're a fucking bag of dirt, or it could be a mid-'80s wrestler, or it could be the state of the Soviet agent that he was in when he sacrificed everything he loved for a nation that he didn't know would be dying within fucking 15 years. Thank you.
Nikolai Hot Steam.
Nikolai Hot Steam.
Jesus Christ.
Phenomenal pseudonym.
Why do
Hot
people,
Steam Love.
Why do people support us?
Oh my God.
Why do people support us?
I don't know.
We're just so stupid.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm dumb.
All right, bye.